Hello folks, and welcome back to Whiskey Wars. My name is Sean, and tonight we have another episode of Have a Drink on Me. We're going to be doing this one a little bit different, but what do we got? A bunch of Ardbeg. Let's get into it. Okay, so here are our whiskeys for today. We got Ardbeg 10-year, Ardbeg 19-year, and Ardbeg 25-year. These two samples here are from Dustin over at Top Shelf Whiskey, and his link to his channel will be down in the description box, so please check those guys out there. And also, thank you, Dustin, for these samples. Just so you guys know, the price on these bottles goes up exponentially rapidly is probably a better word. So the 10-year, pretty findable, pretty much everywhere, right about 50 bucks in my area. And one of my favorites from the core line, you know, it used to be Oogie, but Oogie's kind of went up recently. The Oogado, for those of you that don't know what the Oogie is. But then, so this is 50 bucks. Then the 19-year, $300. Okay, so a pretty significant jump, but granted, you're getting nearly twice the age, so, you know, I kind of get that. And then the 25-year, oh boy. So this one is $1,000 to $1,500, depending on where you're shopping. So significant jump in price, and also really makes me appreciate the generosity of Dustin. Again, thank you for these samples. Not cheap at all. And I appreciate that. So thank you. And so what we're going to do is we're going to compare them and see what differences, what nuances, you know, what subtle note differences do we find in these different age statements of Ardbeg here. So get a little bit of the 10 there. And I'm not going to pour all these samples because, you know, I figure probably not going to get a lot more of them. You know, Dustin was at the Kentucky meetup with us there with Chris and Lil and Stacy from 4 Leaf Whiskey, as well as Paul, Whiskey Food Dude. I feel like I'm missing people. Who else was there? You know, Perry. Perry was there. Anyway, from my Bourbon Podcast. Yeah, so, and Dustin said to me then, which I think is a fair point. You know, when you're doing sample shares, bottle shares, send people stuff that they can't get. I like that. I like that philosophy. That lid's not on there correct. Let's make sure that does not leak, since that's the $1,000 bottle. Okay. Yeah. So here's what we're doing. We're gonna push these over to the side there. We'll keep them like here-ish so you guys can kind of see them. So again, the 10-year, the 19-year, and the 25. Let's go ahead and do just a quick nosing. I'm not going to do a whole lot of time on the nose, just kind of mainly when I compare the differences in the tastes, the notes. Oh man, just that great smokiness. You know, I always kind of compare the nose on Ardbeg 10 to like smoked salmon, but like in a really good way. Personally, I really like smoked salmon. So there's that kind of brininess. You know, that kind of whatever sea salt, but then like a really nice smoke note, and it's like, you know, you kind of get those meaty oils as well, and then there's also some light fruits like a pear, maybe a little bit of apple, also maybe something like maybe more like a peach or a nectarine. I'm going to say nectarine, yeah, something like that. And also just a little bit of barrel presence. You're getting a little bit of the oak showing through there. Yeah, all in all, nice. Let's move along to the next one here. This is the 19-year. Interesting. The smoke is more subtle and more meaty. Like there's more of a meaty presence than on the 10, which I am really digging. This is more like something more like smoked chicken or pork. Not quite beef smoke, but I'm not getting as much of the fruit notes. Just in general, this smells darker, which you would expect, it being older. Yeah, there's more of a campfire smoke going on in this as well. And almost like rope that's been on a ship. You know, it's been soaked in sea salt. Kind of that happening. Yeah, interesting. Okay, now On to the big one, the 25 year. Let's really roll this around here and get those oils all up on the sides there. Oh wow, this is totally different than the other two. So there is a smokiness there, but there's also really nice fruit notes. There's like a nice plum. There's a little bit of a blueberry. I almost want to say like a strawberry in there, which is surprising out of a peated scotch. There's again more stone fruits. I would say like a nectarine or a peach. And the peat is like a, it's like a sweet peat. It's almost like, it's kind of reminding me of like smoked pulled pork that has a little bit of barbecue sauce on it. So you get that kind of sweet and smoky meat note. Wow, that smells excellent. By far the nicest nose of the three. Now let's get into what matters though, and that's the sip. Here we go. Glass 1, the 10 year. Let's get into this. You know, even the 10 year, I know they're going to get better as we go, but even the 10 year, just such a nice experience. You get the smoke punch up front, kind of that brininess. Then mid palate, you kind of get those fruit notes that we talked about, the kind of the pear, the apple, maybe a little bit of nectarine. But there's still that kind of smokiness kind of there, kind of lingering in the background, as well as just some nice sweet notes, a little bit of barrel presence there, but not a whole lot. And then the finish, you get kind of, the smoke kind of comes back around even stronger than before. Just a burst of smoke flavor on the finish. A little more barrel spice influence, maybe some baking spices there, and also like a hint of like a vanilla. Kind of some creaminess, and that's kind of on the mid palate as well. Certainly always a favorite of mine, but now let's get a palate cleanse just to make sure, and then we'll move along to glass number 2. Okay, glass number 2, here we go. The Ardbeg 19 year, first sip. Interesting. It's across the board, it's lighter than the 10, which I guess if that's what you're after, then cool. So the smokiness is toned down. Even the sweet notes, even the fruit notes are toned down some. It's just generally milder on the palate, which kind of disappoints me if I'm honest. I was hoping for Ardbeg 10 just kind of cranked up some. But I guess it makes sense that over time the age would kind of mellow things out. Yeah, so similar notes, honestly, to the 10, just kind of sanded down, smoothed out, less sharp edges. The smoke note doesn't punch through as much. The brininess doesn't punch through as much, but neither does the sweetness. So yeah, I don't know. It was good. I mean, it's still Ardbeg, so can't complain. I was hoping for more, I guess. But now we're going to move on to the 25 year. Let's get one more palate cleanse here and see about this one. Okay, here we go. Ardbeg 25 down the hatch. Okay, another one down. Some interesting notes in that. So the fruit comes back in the 25, more so than I got in the 19, and some different fruits as well. I got more of a plum note in this, and the pear note is kind of amped up compared to the 10. Again, the brininess is kind of smoothed out in the beginning. You don't get that punch so much in the front, which is nice. And the smoke is also toned down some, but then on the finish, that's where the smoke really kind of like smoke and a little bit of sulfur. There's a little bit of sulfuriness on the 25, and it like comes back around on that finish, and it is bold. I mean, and it's like a true smokiness. Like, it's like breathing in like a campfire. It's not so much like oily, meaty smoke, at least not in my mind. It's just like campfire smoke, which is not necessarily bad. It's just, all of these have a different kind of smokiness to them, which was interesting. Again, Dustin, thank you so much for these 2 samples that I certainly would probably not buy on my own, but thank you for sharing. Very generous of you again. Again, folks, check out Top Shelf Whiskey. The link is down in the description. Thank you so much, Dustin. You guys are awesome. And, show Dustin some love, folks. And again, folks, if you enjoyed this kind of side-by-side of the Ardbeg line, please hit that like button. We appreciate that. Also, here's other reviews from us right here, and here's the subscribe button, so please do that. And until next time, folks, just remember, you can never have too much good whiskey.